Hello, everybody. Today's video, it's going to be about politics. It'll be Trump, but it's an interesting video. It was provoked by an unexpected message. I would say from an online friend, from an online contact. I don't know her very well. It's not that I want to menospreciarla. I don't want to, what's the word? Underappreciate her or disdain her. It's just that I don't think I know her very well. As far as my memory doesn't serve me very well. This person, I can't remember how I met her on Facebook. I think I maybe met her because of a family member situation, which I tried to assist in. And I think I assisted in. But then I had her continually as a contact on Facebook. I don't think it's somebody that I know very well. However, this person was kind enough. This person was generous enough. She's showing incredible decency, and I'm gonna send this video to her so she can see it too. That she provoked enough thought in me with her actions for me to produce this video and to discuss these things publicly. So she seems like an extremely decent person, and I appreciate that I don't want to say her name, but she knows who she is. This situation, the harm that this man, I'm very angry, but also sad. I'm angry because of the harm that this man, Donald Trump, has done to people. It has caused so many of us to be, well, it has caused many human beings to literally be in cages. We see this in the border. He's caused many gay people, bisexual, transgendered people to be more on edge because white supremacist and very machista men are after them and abuse them and can kill them. He's made black people be more on edge because police now are more emboldened. Abusive police are more emboldened to kill them on the street, and we've seen that. So, and then just people who have to every day wake up and read Twitter, Facebook, and news about what he says, it produces a destabilizing emotion. The only way to explain it. Like, we can't live our lives because he eats up all the space. We have to continually be bombarded. And the solution is not just, well, let's just disconnect. How come we have to disconnect from the rest of the world and from the news and from Facebook, Twitter? Because this pig, this savage monkey, this gorilla, is stepping on everybody else and making these racist, sexist, pronouncements, hateful pronouncements that force us, because the press covers it, to have to read it on a daily basis and have to eat that diet of anger, hate, white supremacy, sexism, misogyny, nativism, xenophobia. We have to eat that. I think that's what a lot of Trump supporters don't understand. At least the ones that are kind and decent, because I think there's other types. I think there's pretty much three types of Trump supporters. I think that there are fanatical, racist, white supremacist, hateful people who love what he's doing. They absolutely love it. They've been waiting decades for somebody to be their white hero so that he could stab them directly in the heart, all the immigrants, all the Latinos, all the blacks, all the gays. They're tired of everyone who doesn't fit their world mold having a say in the politics of the country, and they are ecstatic. They're elated. The word is elated. They're elated that we have a man harming. It's not just I am taking a view different from you. I am elated that this person is harming you. Every time you scream in pain, I delight in it. There's people like that. There is that type of Trump supporters. They're probably called the Trump cultists. These are the guys who are always wearing their red hat. The red hat for them is identification with this hatred. I want you to know I'm part of that because I want you to know I'm enjoying the harm he's causing you. I am enjoying the harm that MAGA's causing you because, in my view, we're making America great again. And by making America great again, it means white again. They won't say that, and sometimes they will. Some of them have been fresh enough to have hats that say "Make America White Again." Some do, but that's really the idea behind it. Then we have a different type of Trump supporter. The Trump supporter who is decent, who is kind, who thinks they're still voting on conservative principles, or voting Christian principles, or because he defends anti-abortion laws, or because he defends moral values. I don't know. I don't understand how they make that connect. He defends moral values when it comes to family units or Christian conceptions of family units. A man and a woman and two children, and he defends that, so therefore he has more values, but they ignore completely the brutality of what he does everywhere else. That doesn't seem to matter. Or if it doesn't, or if it does matter, he's a flawed human being. We'll forgive him for that as long as he puts forward policies that protect these other politics. So in reality, these are hypocritical people. These are people willing to bend their principles. They're not principled people. They're there for the politics. They don't like this. And I would probably put this category of people too who are corporate or powerful Republicans. People who are willing to bend their principles, people who are willing to bend their humanity and dignity, as long as they can make money out of it, as long as their stock portfolios grow, as long as certain policies or certain laws are passed that benefits their businesses. So these people are not concerned. They know that he's savage. This probably encompasses most of the congressional Republicans. These are people who have no principles. They know full well, privately and in the press has it come out, that they've said for 4 years that he is a horrible man. They know John Kelly called him the most flawed person he's ever met in his life. I believe that is an apt and very clear statement, but these are people who are not willing to come out publicly to say it because they're concerned of their careers. So when you're concerned more about your career than about your dignity, you don't have any principles and you're a hypocrite. So that doesn't mean that these Republicans are themselves, all of them, because some are, undignified or not decent people. These are decent people who may be cowed into fear. Okay? Decent people who may be cowed into fear. They don't want to go against the flow because they don't want to be harmed. These may encompass Colin Powell type of people, John McCain type of people, even though John McCain did speak up against him before he died. Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski. These are representatives and legislatures who are all Republicans who, at first sight, seem like they may be decent people 80% of the time. But they have that 20% indecency where they're willing to bend their principles as long as they get their political goals achieved. And they don't care about how other people are harmed. Because their political goal may be, I don't want abortion for anybody, so they achieve it. They don't care about the millions of women who may die on alleyways performing illegal abortions. So there's no conception or concern about the consequences of what they're causing other human beings to suffer. They're not concerned that by voting for somebody like Trump, that means that they appoint Stephen Miller charge of the border camps, which means human beings, Salvadorians, Hondurans, Central Americans, Mexicans, will suffer there, will suffer drinking toilet water, will suffer with, being separated from their families, will have their children taken away and the children being adopted by white families through U.S. courts, and the only explanation they give is they should have never come here, as if the blame is on them, the poor people desperate to enter a country with money and food, not the people inflicting the harm. And if the people inflicting the harm are people you put in power, that makes you responsible as well, because you knew about it. It's not that, well, I didn't know. Well, let's get to that last step. And then there's the third Republican. The third Republican, I'm assuming that this person who was very decent and kind, very, very decent and kind, who wrote to me in private and said, I still appreciate you. I think you're awesome. I love your music. No hard feelings. It's hard to reply to those messages. And the reason for it is that this person is very kind and very decent. They're being extremely decent. They're not being bad people. And that's when you realize that there's a lot of people out there who maybe just don't know enough. I can't reconcile that this is a person who is decent, who knows absolutely at 100% what Trump has done in the last 4 years and what he proposes to do, and still would vote for him. Because a decent person with information who knew what he was going to do couldn't reconcile those two things. That's why Mitt Romney is not voting for him. That's why John McCain is not voting for him. That's why Lincoln Project Republicans are not voting for him. That's why George Conway is not voting for him. There's a whole bunch of very famous Republicans who have said, I'm not voting for this person. Cindy McCain, the wife of John McCain, will be voting Biden. So my only guess is that this person and others like her are just misinformed. They don't know enough. They don't read enough. They haven't read Mary Trump's book. They haven't heard what Trump's sister has said about him. They haven't, seen investigations from other news sources. They must have only read Fox News. So they live in that bubble and they see him a hero. And this person is a Latina woman. That's what drives me crazy. The only thing I can think of is maybe she's very evangelical Christian, and usually even Latino evangelical Christians vote Trump because of evangelical purposes. They get their news sources from the discussions they have in church. They don't really go out of that circle. So entonces, now that we know the three different types of Republican, the cultists who are evil, savage, and sadistic, the unprincipled political ones who vote for him or support him but hate him secretly, but he gets their policies approved. That also encompasses a lot of evangelical Baptist Christians who know he's a horrible man, but as long as he gets them, pro-life policies, they're willing to vote for him. Or as long as he puts judges in the key positions, they're willing to vote for him. And then the people who don't know. Kind-hearted, good people who don't know. Now that we know those three types of Trump supporters, how do you relate to them? It's extremely difficult. This video is hard for me to do because it is taking a lot of my father would probably say, don't let politics define your emotions or your free time. It's usually wise advice. But it's like what I said at the beginning. We can't simply disconnect and refuse to play the political game or refuse to be engaged. Yes, we're voting. Yes, we're informed. He would say he votes, he gets informed. But he would say he doesn't get involved in any acrimonious battles online about this. He wouldn't post a video like this one. He wouldn't waste his emotional time. He probably would think that this is a waste of emotional time, that you're wasting your time. Those 10 minutes, 12 minutes so far that I've done could have been practicing music and doing other stuff. And for the most part, I do. I have my musical instruments here. I'm a person who, have my own things and my own projects, so I focus on that. But, my message to those Trump supporters would be that prior to Trump, I didn't like Republicans because of their policies and their lack of principles. But I didn't hate Republicans because the human morality was so out of whack. So when people say I disagree with politics, but I like you, the only thing I can tell them is, if you are not Republican number one, sadistic savage, Republican number two, unprincipled political, if you're the number three, it is very hard for us, people who are not Republican, to reconcile the fact that you are kind and decent people and that you support indecent, unkind policies, whether you know it or not. Because of your votes, we have a man who says he grabs women by the pussy and moved on his best friend's wives like they were bitches to try to cheat on them. Cheat on their best friends' wives. Normal, kind, and decent people cannot be in favor of that. If they find out about it, they go, oh, I didn't know about that. I can't vote for this man. That's against my moral fiber. Not political. Politically, I may agree with one of his policies. But once I found out that he did that to his best friend, it goes against my moral fiber. There is no way that my soul, tied with my heart, moral fiber, can vote for this. Because by voting for this, I will not be able to sleep at night. My moral fiber does not allow it. So when we say that we can't be contacts or friends with people who are pro-Trump, it's not because we have a difference of opinion in political policies. Because I could have a difference of opinion. Somebody may feel that by lowering taxes on the rich, it'll be better for the economy. That's a difference in opinion. I may think that by having higher taxes on the rich and having the consumer base spend more, that's going to be better for the economy. Okay, so that's a difference of opinion between liberal and Republican. That's totally acceptable. And the person can be kind and decent. And I can be kind and decent because I know I'm kind and decent. If I wasn't kind and decent, I wouldn't make this video. It wouldn't produce this moral angst in me. But when somebody says, I know that this man called the Gold Star family, made fun of the Muslim mother who was grieving. I know this. I know that there's Latinos suffering in cages who are drinking from toilet water. I know that he's done this. I know that he once suggested that we should put a moat between Mexico and the United States and put, crocodiles there, as if the solution to the problem is to have little children, women and children, be eaten by crocodiles. That goes against my moral fiber. I know that this person cheated on his wife twice with Karen McDougal and Stormy McDaniels. That's so wrong. That goes against my moral fiber. I know that this person made fun of a reporter who had his hand like this, had a problem, a disability. This goes against my moral fiber. I could have voted for his politics on X or Z. He's pro-life or he's anti-LGBT marriage. Maybe I disagree with those things, so I can vote for him for that because I'm a Republican who hates that. I'm playing devil's advocate, but I can't vote for this particular man because my moral fiber does not allow me to associate myself with that. There's Republicans like that. George Conway, I mentioned a few. Mitt Romney, John McCain, Colin Powell, people who have a moral fiber, or at least more of a moral fiber than this man. And they're not willing to vote for that. But there is kind and decent people who are still voting this way. I have family members. I don't want to say their names, but I have at least 2 family members, extended family members. I mean, not so extended. They're well, I don't want to say who they are. They vote. They voted in 2016 for Trump, which can be forgiven. Lack of knowledge. I thought he was going to be really pro-life. I thought he was going to be good for the economy. That's why I voted for him. But man, what he's done in the last 4 years with COVID, with the economy, what he's done to children when he cheated on his wife, all these things that I've mentioned, my moral fiber, if I have any, does not allow me to vote for this man. I can't do it again. I don't want to vote Democrat because I don't like their policies. So I'm going to stay home and not vote. Or I'm going to have to vote Biden. I didn't want to. But my moral fiber does not allow me to vote for this man. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and I'm going to try to finish the video with this, for people who are kind and decent people who are flirting with the idea of voting Trump, or they voted Trump in 2016 and they're going to vote for him, you have to when we say we can't relate with you, it's not because we hate you. It's because our moral fiber does not allow us to associate with other people whose moral fiber is not enough developed to disassociate themselves from this man. I can never be friends with Trump supporter number 1. The savage, sadistic people, those people will never be changed. They're horrible people. These are the same people who went like this to Hitler. They are willing to kill you. They're willing to kill me. They're willing to kill anybody. I'll never associate with those type of people. I have a problem associating as friends with people number 2 because I don't like associating with people who have no principles, who political expediency is everything. Can I shake their hand? Sure. But I'll shake their hand and wash my hand later because I know full well that these are dirty people themselves. But at the very least, I could be at a party with them. I can say hello. Maybe we can work on a project, a musical project together. We're just there doing business. Once we're done, you go be your unprincipled self, and I'm going to continue being the principled social justice person that I am. So I can do that with 2. And I definitely can be friends with number 3, people who are kind and decent, which I think this person who sent me this message, who provoked me to have this thought, to have this video, I can definitely be friends and contacts with this person, but not now. That person, I can actually be friends with him, but not now. And the reason I say not now is because this person, and by extension everybody else like her, they have not had enough of a moral courage or moral fiber to disassociate themselves from this savage beast named Donald Trump and what he's done, and everybody under him, his lackeys who are like him, that they're harming other human beings. Their moral fiber was not enough affected by everything I've mentioned, that it's happened in the news, by him calling soldiers losers and suckers. Their moral fiber wasn't affected. Grab them by the pussy. Their moral fiber wasn't affected. Mexicans are rapists and thieves. Their moral fiber was not affected. And that for me is very problematic. I cannot hang around with people who have not developed enough moral fiber to be able to reject this on a visceral, foundational, primordial level. The day that they're willing to say, Mira, I researched more. I didn't know this. Renee, I didn't know enough. that's the day I can say I can hang with you. Because that's the day that their moral fiber has been awakened by the knowledge that they now have. To be disgusted, to be repulsed, to be repelled, like I am repelled from people like Donald Trump. That means to me that the moment that they're repelled, it means that they're human beings to me. Because human beings are repelled by this. People who are not repelled by this are not human beings. They're horrible. They're horrible. They're scoundrels. Horrible, horrible, horrible people. Evil people. People who embrace this, who put the red hat on proudly and happy and are elated in the sadistic desire, the pleasure that it causes them to see other people suffering, people of color suffering, who can't wait to come with shields and bat people in the head. Antifa, yes. Hit black people, put them back in their place. Yes, I love it. That's sadistic people. That's Trump supporter, cult supporter number one. I'll never be able to relate with those people. I can shake the hands of a Mitt Romney or a Colin Powell, but I know that they are still Trump supporters, or not Trump supporters, Republicans out of political expediency. But the ones I can still shake the hands on are people who are actively fighting Trump. Why? Because ultimately, it's not about a difference of politics on any level: economic, political, social, sexual politics, civil rights, reproductive politics, like all these things we can have disagreements on. That's difference of politics. That's a difference of political opinion or on policy. That's okay. But what we have right now with Trump, and we didn't have in other, not to the same extent, with other political elections, is a difference of morality. We have a different morality. If your morality is not repulsed by this, you and I cannot hang. You and I cannot communicate, because it means that you are a horrible person. But if you find out enough from this person and you go, coño, I didn't know this, I had no idea, that means you have a moral fiber. That means I want to know you, because that means you are a human being and you are the type of person I can make friends with and relate with. I've had to very painfully cut out around 20 people, family members, contacts, political, music contacts, friends, because they didn't have enough of a moral fiber to reject Trump. I don't know what they feel now. A lot of them I rejected early on. Maybe now they'll be like, oh my God, in 4 years, I've seen this. Like a lot of Republicans. There's a lot of suburban white women who have completely been horrified. Their moral fiber did not allow them to vote for this man again. A lot of seniors are not voting for Trump again. Their moral fiber does not allow them to vote again. The whole Lincoln Project, or Republicans with Biden, comes as an effort of many Republicans who their moral fiber, these are good people, these are the good, kind, decent Republicans, would not allow them to vote for this man again. So this is the painful internal debate, because if we were unkind, decent people, we would not have it. This is the painful, unkind, painful and problematic debate, internal debate, that a lot of liberals have with family members, with political contacts, with workplace contacts, with music contacts, if you're like, professional contacts. Because it's very hard for us to maintain these friendships. I have one Trump supporter who I know is a kind, decent guy. I still am friends with him. And it's very painful. I don't know if he knows it. It is very painful to be friends with him. Not because he's a bad person in terms of like spending time with him is painful. I love spending time with the person. It's very painful when I leave his home or when I stop talking to him, because it's problematic me to know that a good person like him cannot disassociate himself from Trump. And by extension, by giving him them the vote, even though he personally may not agree with the suffering other people suffer or the suffering that they inflict, his vote made it possible. And I still hold this person accountable. I may be his friend, but I say I hold you accountable. Your vote helped this. Your vote helps a whole bunch of people in your own country suffer. So it's very hard. It's very hard to balance being kind and decent and loving to other people and being so angry with people's ignorance. Because sometimes you want to grab your best friends, que son Trump supporters, and go por el cuello and go, por culpa tuya, because of your fault, these people are suffering. So that there's that internal anger. And then there's the sadness in knowing that kind and decent friends of yours could support this. I mean, I guess this feeling, I've never felt this feeling in my life. I guess this is the same feeling a lot of Germans felt when Hitler fell and they were forced to reckon with the fact that, my God, our country has done this. I think to this day, still Germans are ashamed, which is good. This is good. Germans are ashamed and are sad of what Hitler did. Entiende? I think the harm is in both sides because people who have been harmed directly by Trump, they have to live with the trauma and reckon with them. And then people who are neutral, who haven't been harmed by Trump, I haven't been personally harmed by Trump, have to deal with the pain that we've seen other people be inflicted to and the suffering that we've seen, which affects us. And then the people who have voted Trump, who were part of the project that allowed this to happen, like the people who lifted their hands to Hitler and then after the war were very ashamed of what he had done, they have to reckon with the suffering that this man inflicted on other people and on the people who were neutral, who had to see the suffering and couldn't do anything about it. So this man has harmed everybody. That's why so many of us are, we're dedicated that we're going to vote against him. And, when people say it's national healing, it is very personal. I've had to cut off friends, and it's caused a lot of moral fiber angst to have to cut off friends, to have to cut off people. Because if I don't cut them off, their toxicity, their continued support to Trump harms us. It harms us a lot. And I don't know if they know that. I don't know if people who are Trump supporters know how much harm and pain they cause other people by extension, by maybe not being aware of what Trump has done to other people, by not being aware of his racism, by not being aware of his misogyny, his complete and utter use of women as pieces of meat, which offends our most moral fiber sensibilities if you think women are equal. The way he talks about, LGBT people, the way he talks about white supremacists being good people. When these white supremacists have harmed our community, Latinos and blacks, all of our lives, it really bothers us. It angers us that somebody would think these people are very good people, or stand back and stand by. And instead of saying, I completely 100%, let me put it on the record. I don't know why people keep thinking of this. I'm against this. The reason people keep thinking of this is because his entire life, even before politics, he was anti-black. There's a whole bunch of lists of incidents where this guy has been racist. His own sister married Trump. I'm sorry, his niece married Trump, and his own sister have admitted on the record that he said nigger. He said the N-word many times. His family would say it all the time. It was like as common as saying hello in their family. We know he's racist. So when we know this, it's very hard for us. It's painful and angry to have to relate to people who may have been our friends before this man, to realize that the people around us, some of us were sadistic, Trump supported one. Some of them have no principles. And then some of them are so ignorant that they presta su voto. And they continue to do it. I can forgive somebody in 2006. I can't forgive anybody in 2020. Anybody who votes Trump in 2020, please don't reach out to me ever again. Because that's 2 times. Like, where have you been for the last 4 years? You haven't heard any news. You haven't seen anything that has offended your moral fiber. In 4 years, I cannot believe that I just didn't know. Coño. What do you mean? Entiende? So it's not a difference of opinion. If I can't be your friend or I can't be your contact, I appreciate that you look up to me. I appreciate that you love our music or think we're awesome people. Thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. But it is very problematic for us to relate with you guys because your moral fiber hasn't been courageous or grown enough to be able to resist and to purposefully be repulsed by Donald Trump. And this is the angst and the emotional turmoil that Donald Trump has put many of us through, and that we go through. I don't know if Trump supporting friends know this, but this is the pain that we go through. And your votes make it happen. It's like when you go and vote for Trump next time, remember my face, because what I'm saying, millions of your friends and other people are suffering because of you. And thankfully, it seems like Biden's going to win. So that's the only silver lining, that we'll be able to finish this and never again, hopefully in my lifetime, have to deal with such brutality and with seeing some of our peers next door to us supporting that brutality, happily, giddily, elatedly supporting that type of brutality. That is, it's the elation, it's the happiness behind it that really bothers us. That so you were an asshole all this time, You were an asshole all this time and we didn't know it? It's crazy. 30-minute video. Lo dejo ahí.